And we are live for another episode of First Strike. Got a full cast, exciting episode. But before we start the show, got to plug our sponsor, FaceToFaceGames.com, the #1 place to get your Magic the Gathering singles. This week we got not a sale promotion, but we got 40% plus 40% trade bonus. So normally we would give you 25% on top if you took credit over instead of cash, but now it's 40%. It's valid at each of the stores. And it's going to be valid at Magic Fest Calgary. So definitely take advantage if you've been waiting to sell a bunch of cards. Speaking of face-to-face games, we had the Barrie Open this past weekend, and I'm happy that Stephen Kerr, the winner of that tournament, and also the runner-up to the Toronto Open Plus not too long ago with the same deck, is here to join us. Welcome to the show, Stephen. How's it going?
It's good. It's been a good run on Modern for like the last 2 months.
So we're going to get right down to your deck choice because Derek here thinks that you ran an archetype that's not playable, but you were runner-up at the Open Plus. You won this tournament. Our mutual friend Rob Anderson won a local Montreal 5K with the same deck, Azorius. So is he wrong? Is it actually good, or are you running lucky with a bad deck?
I don't know if the deck itself is good. It's just a deck that you can play fair Magic and have like around a 50% matchup against pretty much everybody. Like your worst matchup is like Dredge, and it's still not horrendous. It's still like maybe like a 40% matchup. But everything else is right around 50%, maybe 60%. You just get to play Magic as opposed to having matchups where you'll be like, you sit down and play and you're already set to lose or you're already set to win.
So is it similar to like the same reason why people like to play Jund? You just want to have some play, and you don't think it's overwhelmingly the best deck then?
Definitely. Oh, I don't think that blue-white is the best deck, and it's like I think it'd be a really bad deck to play cold at a tournament. It's the same with like but for different reasons. Because blue-white, the clock is going to be like your biggest enemy. So being able to make reasonably okay plays at a really fast pace and hurrying your opponents to play fast as well is like the only way to have any success with the deck.
So I guess someone's not going to be able to find success if they're bringing it like cold heading into Magic Fest Calgary. But if people were curious about bringing your deck, like what matchups are they hoping to face and sit down opposite from?
The creature matchups, like where your Wraths are best, those are obviously the best matchups. I've been having okay in the Phoenix matchup. I definitely don't like the Dredge matchup, but you can definitely win it. There's a lot of lines in what you're surgicaling when you play your Rip, because you can like let them get a few creatures and get ahead before you cast the Rip because you need to like protect it post board. It's difficult. Like Tron is fine. You just got to know when you can go for like when you're playing your Planeswalkers against Tron is really difficult. Like honestly, I'm happy to play all of the matchups in the format from Amulet to Tron to Black Green, but they're all pretty difficult. But you kind of got game against everybody, and that's kind of like the thing that blue white does the best.
Are you running into a lot of blue-white? A lot of Amulet Titan. No, not Amulet Titan. Edgar's favorite deck. Are you running into a lot of that in the past 2 tournaments you played in?
Yeah, so I played it twice at the Barrie Open. I played it once at the Toronto Open, and I played against it once at GP Toronto. And I won all of those matchups.
That's what I like to hear. Derek, just speak your thoughts. We want to hear it in words from your own voice. What do you think about the blue-white deck?
I just think I don't think it's good enough to play in an event. That's like he said it himself. It's not the best deck in the format, and if you're not playing the best deck, I don't know why you're playing it. I don't mean to sound harsh or shady or anything. That's just my view on playing a constructed event. So I don't know. If you feel like you have game against the format and you feel like you know what you're doing with any deck in Modern, then like you should probably be playing it in Modern. But I think in general, like if you have a choice to play any deck in Modern, you should just be playing the best deck, unless you have a lot of reps with the deck already and you're really comfortable with it, which I think this is obviously the case. But like blue-white for some rando walking off the street, I would never suggest this. I don't know what I would suggest, though, I guess.
Yeah, like you wouldn't want to play Phoenix as like some rando. You literally play like 95 different sleight of hands.
Right.
You'll choose what cards you play all day.
You could like give somebody, you could give somebody Tron, but then like sometimes they just don't know how to mulligan right or something, right? Or like burn, like they don't know how to once again mulligan right. Like I don't know. Blue-white would never be my choice just because I don't think it's the best deck, and I don't think it can be the best deck. But if you're comfortable with it, go for it. I don't know.
I do think that Modern as a format is actually in a really good spot where, more so than any other format I've played in the past, playing the deck that you know how to pilot is far superior than playing the best deck. I definitely agree that for stuff like Standard, for Legacy in the past, playing the best deck is where you want to be at. But there are players in Modern that are able to consistently put up really good results. There's the Japanese guy who plays blue-black fairies at like every GP and is like constantly putting up positive.
Yeah, that's unreal because like fairies is actually unplayable.
Well, yeah, it's. I agree, it's really bad. But you know how to play that deck. He knows how to play the deck, and it's Modern's in a really weird spot where people that know their decks are able to put up consistent results, because knowing how to pilot your deck through a field is more important in Modern than I think every other format right now. And it's why I actually like Modern.
Yeah, we brought it up a couple times. Like Scred is one of Modern GP. Mono Green or Elves is one of GP.
Merfolk, don't forget Merfolk.
Merfolk's one of GP. Like if you were to say like, oh, I'm gonna bring any of those decks to the next GP, I'd be like, you're absolutely insane. But it's Modern, and you can just play whatever you want, no matter how bad. I'm using air quotes for those who are listening at home. The deck is. So I don't know. Maybe just don't ask me if I think a deck's good or not, because if it's not Phoenix, it's probably bad.
So I know you can't tell us much. Go ahead, Elliot.
I was going to say, personally, when I'm talking about Modern decks with people, I sort of have three rankings of good decks, bad decks, and then unplayable decks. And, you know, good decks are the ones I actively want to play. So off the top of my head, the Prison deck, Phoenix, like Tron, those kind of decks. The bad decks are, you know, Merfolk, maybe Blue-White Control, those Jeskai maybe. And I don't really want to play them, but they're probably reasonable choices at some point, especially if you're experienced with them. And the awful decks are like Scred and Mono Green Devotion, where I wouldn't want to be caught dead. No one should be caught dead playing Mono Green Devotion in Modern.
I've been paired against the blue-red Pillow Fort deck on Moto like 3 times in the past week, and that's just a deck that nobody should ever be doing anything with. Like, even as like an art form, nobody should be discussing what that deck is, and I'm playing against it, and it's just Modern.
Yeah, the most recent deck dump that came out today for Modern had a black-white mid-range deck, had some real hot ones like Sorin Grim Nemesis and an Obsidat, you know, with their Kayas. So it was really a flavor win, super Vorthos, but it's just not a good Modern deck. You shouldn't be playing it.
This is not a Vorthos podcast. Vorthos things don't belong here.
Elliot, you played in the tournament that Rob ended up winning with blue-white. How did that deck look from your perspective, and how did the tournament go for you overall? What did you play?
So I played Tron for no reason other than I messaged my friend on Tuesday and said, what do you have that I can borrow? And Tron, it was either Tron or Ad Nauseam, so I picked the good deck. I ended up going 6-1-1 in the Swiss and finished 4th. And then it was a 5K with some really top-heavy prizes, so we just chopped the top 8 and played for a trophy, where I ended up losing to Rob. It seemed, I mean, Blue-White seemed good. I think there was 2 copies in the top 8, and I know another person had, I think, a win-in with blue-white as well, which, having 3 copies into the top 8 of a tournament, the field it was like 140 players, so it's not a huge field. There probably weren't that many people playing blue-white in the first place. That's, a relatively impressive showing. I did lose to Rob in the top 8, but for the record, he needed it more than I did, so I may have let it slide. But that's just between him and me. I don't know. I think, like, specifically thinking about it from the Tron versus Blue White matchup, which is where I was exposed to it, I felt like I was pretty favored, and I felt like if you're playing Blue White, I don't think you really want to be paired against Tron. Maybe Steven can confirm that one.
Oh, I play against Tron all day.
You will?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. In both of our sideboard games, it felt like if I ever played all 3 of the Tron lands, it was going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, that's why you don't let him play all 3 of the Tron lands.
He seemed really maybe it was just his list in particular. Maybe you have some sideboard tech I haven't seen, but he seemed.
Index Surgical is really good. And then again, any of the 2-mana counter spells can allow your Field of Ruins, even if you're on the play, take you off of it. And then you've got counter spells to try and fight for finding their 3rd piece. And as long as you can kind of stick a slight clock, whether it's a Snapcaster Mage or a Vandalian Clique or like a 3-mana Gideon, you can win the game. And if you stick a Planeswalker, you're just gas in the matchup. Like you're trading your spells for whatever it is that they want to search for. Yeah, if they get to 10 mana, it's kind of scary, but you can definitely play through whatever that guy's called. Ulamog, I think, is the guy that gets 2 of them. I definitely have so this is where, like, I'm on kind of a good tear. So, like, I got 58th at the GP, and I've, like, top 8'd every single 1K that I've played in, like, the last 2 months, and then done really well. I think I'm like 32, 4, and 3 in, like, my, like, comp REL over the past 2 months. Like, it's pretty good.
That is a lot of draws. You should
play faster. I know. I mentioned it at the beginning. Like, even as a player who's been playing Blue White for a while, like, getting draws is an inevitability. Like, you're gonna get a lot. Like, most of those ones were intentional to get into top 8s, but I definitely had a couple of draws, especially at, like, the GP Toronto. I got a couple of draws, but those are against other slow decks as well. This is why, like, the playing fast is critical for playing the deck.
Yeah, okay. I mean, my sample size against Blue White is pretty small right now, so I'll defer to Steven, but I don't know. Blue White seemed pretty impressive. It's also, White sideboard cards in Modern are always going to be good, and you definitely have the tools to build your sideboard correctly for the right weekend, and I don't know, play a 3rd Rest in Peace or something, get paired against Dredge a couple times, you're going to be rewarded. So I think Blue White's definitely a reasonable deck moving forward.
Derek, I know you can't talk much, but how's the prep going for your Mythic Championship?
It's been going good. I know that I have been playing a lot more than the rest of the team has at the moment. I think it's partially because, like, most of them have real jobs, and they, like, it's hard to, like, really focus everybody's efforts because, like, I know Edgar has the SCG things going on, and some of the other guys like Ely and Shaheen were at the GP last weekend or 2 weekends ago. But I think we're starting to hone in on an actual testing process, and I think it's going good. I mean, we haven't really discussed much other than, like, the Modern format as a format, just theorizing and what we think about the London Mulligan. Personally, I've been playing a lot of Phoenix. I think I have like 500 matches in the past month. So I just think, like, it's the best deck, and I just want to be playing the best deck until it's not the best deck, if that makes sense. Personally, whenever I play against Blue White specifically on Moto, I just kind of roll them games 2 and 3 if they beat me game 1. But I have lost against very, very fringe Blue-White versions of people playing, like, 4 Condemns in their main, 4 Relics in their main, it's like they didn't have as many condemns that they didn't have as many paths as condemns because it didn't give me the extra land, and it's like the exact same card, but they're probably weaker to other random decks in doing that, so to speak. So I don't know. But yeah, I've just been playing a lot of Phoenix. I like the deck. It's pretty good.
Good. Andy, I don't think you've touched Modern in a while, right?
I've been lucky enough to not have to touch Modern for, gosh, it's been since the Grand Prix, I would imagine, and it's been a good time. Like I do miss playing Arclight Phoenix, and it was especially good when nobody really knew what was up. But now I don't want to play Modern. It's no fun.
Such a downer. Steven, anything else you want to mention about your deck?
I don't know. I love Modern. It's funny. It's like, I think lots of people that play all the other decks besides decks that just get to have 50% win rates is like, I feel like I get to play Magic every game I like sit down at the table. And I find that when I've played other decks before, like I've played a little bit of Burn, I've played a little bit of Blue-Black, I've played Death Shadow, I've played some other stuff, and I don't have as much fun because you'll just play against a person that you just can't win against. But I like have a blast at Modern playing Blue-White because you always get to play a game of Magic. I don't know.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Modern's a ton of fun. It's just like I don't like playing it as a competitive format, and that's mostly all I play. So, because there's too much variance in the things, a whole slew of things. But like it's a very fun format to play. You get to put a bunch of Arclight Phoenixes into play. Your opponents always think they have a good matchup, and they always die.
Steven, do you care about the Mulligan Rule that's going to come into play at the championship?
I think a lot of people think the Mulligan Rule is going to change everything, and I feel a lot of people are like saying that the sky is falling kind of thing. Like this is some sort of Ragnarok of things of all the formats, and I think that if a couple of decks need to or a couple of cards need to be like banned or restricted, this is like the vintage stuff. If Bizarre Baghdad needs to get restricted to let this new Mulligan Rule come to play, I think that you'll get to play more games of Magic when you mull than you do now. I don't know. I haven't done very much testing with it, like just a little bit. I don't know if it breaks formats besides like the really old ones with like Bizarre and stuff like that. All the other ones have been fine. For Modern, Standard, and Limited, it's been really decent, but I definitely have not. I don't think that it's good for Vintage, especially in like Shops and Bizarre. It's like ridiculous. And then maybe even for Legacy, it's probably too good. So if a couple cards need to get restricted or banned to make this rule happen, I think that we'll get to play better games of Magic after the rule kind of like levels out what cards are too powerful with it.
Actually, one last question for your Blue-White deck. Are there any wrinkles that you would consider pretty unique to the versions you've been playing, or do you consider it pretty stock and what's pretty similar to what's being played out there?
I think that the list is pretty like it's quite stock. So like I think the list that I played at a couple of last events have been 24 land. I think the 25 is just fine. I've seen rips over Snaps. I think that Snaps a more fun Magic card to play, and like you get to utilize some sideboard cards a little bit better. Whether you want to play 4 Planeswalker win conditions or 5, again that's a toss up. And whether you want to favor Jace over Teferi, I think the Jace is better when you're playing Terminus. Gabriel Nassif has been playing a lot of like Terminus less lists. So that's like leaning on Supreme Verdict or Settle the Wreckage and whatever you're mixing up, usually still playing 4 to 5 in the main deck. So yeah, I think that you can play like about like 56 cards, maybe 54 cards are stock. And that's like how you want to split on your like counter spells. You can play 2 negates in the main. I played Remand at this event and played no 1-mana counter spells. I've definitely played Snare. I've played Peak. I like top 8 the last one with Peak because I've liked Peak for the control matchups, but I didn't see very much before. And I just decided to play Serum Visions. It's just a far more powerful Magic card, especially for sideboarded games. So like what you want to split on your cantrips, you can play. They're all pretty decent. Like Remand's going to be better in certain matchups. It's better in the Phoenix matchup. I think that's what like I hedged a lot on my main deck. I definitely have a really good matchup game 1 against Phoenix. And then sideboard games are much more difficult, but they're definitely doable. The Circle of Protection red is really good against the Phoenix deck. Like it was, and like you just gotta play through all their spell pierces. And once the spell pierces are done, you're sitting pretty. I don't know. It's weird. I think you want to get in a ton of reps with the deck if you want to play it. It's definitely a fun way to play Magic. If you like playing the control side of things. And that's just the strategy of Magic that I've liked for the longest time, from playing janky ass control decks in Legacy to playing janky ass control decks in Modern.
Right. Derek Elliott, anyone got anything to say? We'll move on to the next topic.
I noticed you have a cat in the background. What's the cat's name?
There are currently 5 animals in this room, and the cat, his name is Newton. It's probably Newton, yeah. Newton, and then there's Tesla, and then I've got 3 dogs here. We're dog sitting 1 dog. We normally have only 2. It's an animal-loving household here.
Nice.
All right. Going to our next topic. I didn't know this was that people hated this until I was jumping into a Semulin stream today, and we were talking about the Mythic Invitational. But some people in chat, they don't like the dual standard format, and the dual standard format is going to be the one that's used. And I'm going to explain it to listeners who are not aware of what it is or what even the Mythic Invitational is about. So reading from the mothership, instead of a 60-card standard deck and a 15-card sideboard, the players will submit 2 60-card standard decks. And for the 2 60-card standard decks, they can do whatever they want. They can submit the exact same list. They can submit 2 totally different lists, or they can even submit 2 similar lists, but with some key cards swapped in for certain matchups. Once they're in the tournament, players will be paired up with an opponent. Which player goes first is decided at random. Additionally, which deck they are playing in the first game is also chosen randomly. For game 2, the players will be forced to play with a deck they didn't get in the first game. Also, the player who went first in game 1 will go second for game 2. If there's game 3, the players get to choose which of their 2 decks to play with, but who goes first will once again be chosen at random. And then Marshall goes into what he thinks are some of the strategic implications of it. Steven, do you have any takes on the whole tournament as a whole and this particular format? Yeah, like what I've read in chat were people like, yeah, they're not playing a real competitive format, and whereas I'm excited to see something fresh. But what about you?
Oh, it's definitely a competitive format, right? They're playing for a whole bunch of money. The edges are there to be earned, and there's a lot of money on the table to be taken from taking it pretty seriously. It's definitely different. It's definitely unlike Magic that we've known for however long you've been playing Magic. I think it is really cool because I've been liking best of ones. Because deck decisions are way different in best of ones. Like there's certain strategies in Magic that just don't work. These are like the best deck that's in standard, I don't think is a playable deck in best of one. That's like the Soul Tide mid-range deck is like, it's really bad in best of one. I've definitely tried it and it's horrendous. Like the mid-range strategies where you utilize your sideboard to morph your deck a little bit one way or the other. So I think that there's some really cool stuff that you can do in best of ones that don't exist inside of like the best of 3 environment. And I think that it's really cool, like, because I've been on Esper a lot for best of ones, and if I was playing the event, I'd probably be on 2 builds of Esper, one a little bit more controlling, like with like some like maybe a devious cover up or some other like weird tech, and the other one more creature based, so that way I'd be able to decide for that 3rd game which side I wanted to hedge on. So I think that it's got some cool stuff, as well as like cards like Mastermind that are way better in best of one than they are in constructed, because the sideboard's so valuable in constructed Magic, but it's almost worthless in best of one. So there's some really cool deck designing that you can do, knowing that you can play a 15-card wish board.
Yeah, like you talked about a lot of things that I 100% agree with. I was talking when I initially heard about the format and talking to my friend Alex Hayne, who was going to play in the tournament. He's like, I told him, well, you just got to submit 2 60-card decks. How hard could it be? And he brought up Mastermind and like how he's going to have to create a sideboard for both decks, and how there's other cards where What's that red card? The Daredevil.
Daredevil, or even like if you have any card that like takes their creature, you got to like be wary of like Thief of Sanity and all this other stuff. Like there's some wonky ways to get access to Mastermind that you still need to like submit a stupid sideboard for, because you may have some convoluted way in order to be able to put a Mastermind's Inquisition on the stack, and you'd really like to be able to have a sideboard to when it resolves.
So I'm excited about this. Like, do you think the MPL players are going to have an edge over the non-MPL with their deck choices?
Well, there's some really good challengers. So this is like the Luis Vargas,
right?
Like Gabriel Nassif. So like I think the MPL players are like really, really strong, but there's some really strong challengers, especially the ones that top 8'd the ladder, because that is a feat. The getting top 8 on the ladder is incredibly difficult. You kind of have to go like nut perfect in the last little bit to be able to do that. It's like running a crazy long tournament. Like you got to go like 20. I don't know each individual story, but from back in the Hearthstone days when trying to hit like legend on the ladder, like you had to go nut perfect for like 20 games in a row, which at any tournament to go like 20-0 is crazy. That's a good run. You got to really understand a format to be able to go on a streak like that in the last bit. So that's like the Sojo, I think, is one of the challengers that I think he's an excellent strategy game player.
Yeah, he got invited. He used to play Hearthstone. I've watched him stream a bit. I think it's pronounced Shao.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Him and who's the other? There's another guy. Starts with an S. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Swedish or something. He also used to play Hearthstone. He was playing a bunch of auto chess too. They're like really good strategy game players. I mean, they weren't top 8, but I think they already got invited, so they had no reason to try. I don't think they're as good as the MPL. We made our list, and I think I have one challenger on.
Whoa!
Oh no, I lied. No, I think it's just one challenger. Okay, maybe it's 3. I can't count. Anyways, I don't think anybody who's not in the MPL isn't going to go very far. In all honesty,
that is a bold claim for best of ones. Holy smokes!
It's not personal. I just like
it's never personal.
I just don't think it's realistic. Like you're talking about people who've been grinding Magic for $10,000 for years, going to GPs to try to stay on the train for literal pocket change compared to this event. And you're telling me that these people up to this point haven't broken through, and now they're playing for $250,000. And these people who just got invited, who haven't been doing this for a while, are just gonna like walk in and break. Like I don't think it's possible. Like I'm ready to be wrong. I'm ready for one of these challengers to prove me wrong. But like up until that happens, like my money's on Owen, Huey, LSV, Yuza, one of the other people. Like
what's the average age of
LSV is a challenger
MPL versus challenger? Like average age of MPL players versus the average age of challengers.
I don't know.
I would think that the MPL is older, and so I would probably give the edge to people that are younger. Like that's just, again, we're playing strategy games. Like as you age, you're definitely gonna decline a bit. So
I mean,
these are the best players in the world for the last 2 years in Magic right now.
I
think the age thing's irrelevant.
I don't think it's like Dota, right? It's not like clicks per second or whatever, or like reaction time. Like you can just, like, if it takes me an extra 5 seconds to come to a conclusion, yeah, whatever. I'll think about it. Like Andre Strosky has a couple years on me, whatever. I don't know. I think me and Zach Keeney are the same age or close to the same age. And I know Zach personally, and I don't think he's going to get farther. Like I don't think he's going to win his pot up. Like I don't know if he's going to do this. I'm sorry, Zach, but I just don't think it's possible, dude. Odds are not in your favor.
Andy, let's go back to my first question and get your take. Do you think dual standard is going to be more skill intensive or less? Are you excited about the format as a whole? What's your take?
Like more or less than what? Like normal
best of 3 standard. Yeah, well, let's say
Like Brad Nelson, for example, in best of 3 standard wins like 68% of his matches, and they posted his stats in best of 1 standard he won like 56. He's perhaps the best standard player in the world. Like obviously this is like lower due to testing an enormous array of everything he could get his mind on, but that fact alone should really lay down that it's less skill intensive. The challengers have more of a shot than they ever would.
But is that stat for just purely best of 1?
Yes, it is. As far as I know, they posted it on like the MPL Super Sick website, where they have incredibly beautiful pictures of all the players.
The one thing I will say, I agree with Andy that the non-MPL, like I think whoever wasn't, people who weren't on the MPL have a higher chance than they did before. I don't think that chance is high. I still think they're heavily unfavored. Even like because at no point can it be higher than 50-50 if it's random across the entire board, right? So once if you think everything's random, then it's like 50-50 across. We know everything's not random, so you have to give the advantage to the players who are much better at the game. So even if it's like 51-49, but I don't even think it's probably like 70-30. Like for most players, I'm not saying for all of them, for most, like I think like it's not going to be close.
Yeah, I could picture
I
Elliot.
don't know if your math checks out there, Derek, but
coming up with a
I do
PowerPoint
appreciate your sentiment.
What like okay, maybe my specifics are wrong. I haven't ran the numbers, not a mathematician,
Well,
but like
the 55%, right, that Brad Nelson was putting up versus random people testing best of 1s. Obviously, the people that are at this tournament are better than random people, right? So I would assume that number would go down by some amount, but let's say it's the same. Even if the best, like the MPL's got a 55% on everything, it doesn't mean that it's a substantial over 80% that they're going to win the tournament.
I just mean like the number's not drastic. The difference that this changes the advantage for MPL players is not something to write home about. I don't know the actual, like, even if it is more random, like if they have more of a chance, the chance can't be much better. You have to put your eggs in the basket that you know are good already. And I think that, like, if I was a betting person, I would definitely just put most of my money on the MPL against the non-MPL.
Okay, let's let Elliot chime in.
Yeah, I think obviously the MPL is a favorite to do well in the tournament. It's just the way Magic goes is that these are the best players in the world at Magic, and the tournament they're competing in, even though it's best of 1, which is relatively unexplored compared to best of 3 standard that we've had for the past 20 years, they still have to be the favorites. They're just the best at it. But you know, even if I think, in my opinion, Owen Turtenwald's a favorite to win the tournament, a favorite to win in the tournament in a 64-man field or 64-player field, he's like maybe 3% at most, 2.5%. But you add that up across the entire MPL, and maybe you say the 32 players from the MPL add up to 70% to win the entire thing. And I think, you know, I'll take a 70-30 coin, like, flip in my favor every single time. I think we're going to get into our brackets a little later, but I picked the only challenger I picked was LSV, to my knowledge. I think everyone else I picked is in the MPL. So I don't know. It's just like, does Brad Nelson's 55% win rate mean that best of 1 is less skilled? Maybe it's just different skill set, a little bit of both. But Andy and I were talking about this a little earlier. We were kind of comparing notes after building our brackets, and I said I think that if you do like a plot of numbers of die rolls won, specifically in the game 3s, I think that's going to be a really important one, to number of matches won, I think you're going to have close to a straight line. I think the die roll is just really going to be really important in this format, and I don't know. I think this format really sucks, but still got to give the edge to the MPL players. They're the best for a reason.
Andy, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
Not currently. Obviously, the MPL is favored, just not as favored as they would be under normal circumstances, but they're still definitely favored.
Okay. I mean, I think this part's obvious, but like I imagine we're just looking at the MPL as, I mean, the best of one by itself, but then I was imagining Elliot doing a PowerPoint actually showing like being able to play two different decks and being able to construct them so that they're both good against like different matchups and stuff like that. I think just having those two, because it's not really a best of one when it comes down to it, this dual standard thing. So the edge might be, I mean, it's definitely, in my opinion, slightly higher because of that. And how much higher we're going to see this week.
Yeah, that's a good point, Carl. It's going to be better than normal best of one, but like lower than normal best of three, perhaps. Maybe it doesn't even.
Maybe not even.
Because this is a wrinkle that we're not used to, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the show. I think this weekend is going to be really, really sweet. I don't know if the format's going to work out. To me, this sounds miserable, but it's not what I'm used to. It could just be a good format given the circumstance, but I'm also very excited because this is them showcasing Arena and this is them showcasing Magic's like first real step into esports. I'm just so excited for it, and I can't wait to just watch some really good Magic this weekend. Like even if we talk bad on the challengers, there's some still very good players in that group of people. One of them did just happen to win the last MC, I guess we're calling it now. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be sweet.
Oh yeah, the challengers are all awesome, and they're all incredibly talented and incredible ambassadors for the game, and they absolutely like deserve for their shot at this top 25 moneymakers of all time in Magic.
Yeah,
because I think if you win, you automatically hit 24th or 25th in the all-time money.
That's real. I really hope, and it probably won't happen, but a young boy can dream. I hope that they put this close to amount of effort into showcasing the mocks, or they at least have some amount of coverage for the mocks so that I can get a little bit of camera time, because obviously everything revolves around me. But
oh God.
Can you imagine? They're just like, it's just in a basement somewhere. There's no lighting. You're both sharing the same laptop, just split screen.
They haven't.
Piece of cardboard.
We don't know where it is yet, and it's like 2 months away. Like they said it might be at the headquarters. They said it might be some other conventions. We don't know.
Steven, when you were talking about the players, it just sounds like you're someone that watches the game a lot. Like, who are you big fans of? Who are you a big fan of, rather?
I'm a big fan of Gabe because he plays blue, white, and modern. That's about it. I've watched. I really like Owen's stream. Basically, the streamers, the people that bring a lot of people into Magic, and I think that streaming is definitely a fantastic way to do that. So the people that have been trying hard in like the last month or two. So it's like Owen has been doing, I think, a really good job. Even stuff like Paulo's been doing some stuff, and some of the MPL players. But Autumn's stream I've liked in the past. Definitely Gabe is probably my favorite right now. He just does. He's got the balls to play like the mock stuff with no delay and no ghosting stuff, which I don't think any other streamer has the trust in the community to do so. Which he's played like some.
I watched him do the modern thing this weekend, and I couldn't believe it. Or the standard one too that he 6-2'd. I just couldn't
7-1. He 7-1'd it.
Yeah, I would never in a million years. That qualifying for that event is worth like hundreds of dollars, and then possibly like tens of thousands of dollars. And he's just like, yeah, I don't care. And he takes forever to make his decisions. If you wanted to ghost him, you could just sit there and like, it's like a TV show. You're just watching him, but you're winning money. So I have no words. It's insane.
That ghosting in the community is not a good thing, and he's putting the faith in the community to do right by everybody by allowing people to enjoy the highest level of Moto Magic that exists, but being able to like do it in such a way that like can the community can get involved in. And yeah, it puts a lot of onus on the people in the tournament to not do what I think is considered not good behavior, which is ghosting. Like, I think most people genuinely agree that ghosting is probably not something that we want to happen. And he basically trusts the community. He's willing to put that again, hundreds of dollars on the line to offer something to the community that nobody else will. That's, again, you would never do it, but having somebody do something that nobody ever would do might move the community into a better place where everybody gets okay with not ghosting. I don't think that people at the top there would want to ghost. I don't know if you'd want to ghost. You're playing against him and you'd want to ghost, but if I was playing in that event, I wouldn't ghost. And that's saying something, just because he's got the ability to do so. So that's something that I think that lots of streamers wouldn't want to do. So it's very, very difficult. That's what he offers that I don't think nobody else does.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, obviously there's a moral compass, but it's like I would never do it. But at some point you have to ask yourself, what is the price point in which you would ghost for? And if somebody said $100, they said, you win $100 if you go check this person's hand right now, I'd be like, yeah, I'll think about it. If it was $300, I'd be like, yeah, okay. If it was $1,000, I'd be like, it's insane for me not to do this. You know what I mean? And so at some point, like, it's morally incorrect, but that's
like drawing additional cards at like a top level event, right?
But you can actually get banned for that. You can get banned from the game. You can lose things. You can get ostracized. Like, this has little to no repercussion, and he's just allowing it to do it. I agree with you.
The reason why there's repercussions for drawing additional cards is because we went through periods in Magic where cheating was the norm, and we moved the community into
this isn't defined as cheating, though, right? Like,
not yet.
I mean, it is cheating. I think you could classify it as cheating, but there's no, like, I think this is different because it's, I don't know, it's a very gray area. And I think that
definitely cheating. It's just, it's very difficult to enforce it because the proof is very difficult to acquire. And to have rules, you usually need to be able to prove that they did that. Again, that's the whole prove innocent until proven guilty. That's what our whole like law system is based on. But I think it's definitely cheating. It's just because it's difficult to catch them is why there aren't any rules on them. If there was rules, how would you even catch them in the face? Exactly. That's why there are no rules. But the reason why there are the judge program that we have now is because in the past there was people that rampant was part of the norm. It's what people did. You just put cards in your lap. That's what they went to tournaments knowing that they have extra copies of cards to just draw during the game. And that's where the judge program is now moved to a place where we do trust the community to not cheat, and we call judges on people making mistakes just so that we have that track record. And that's where there's been people that write articles all the time about trying to push cheating because it still exists today. Daniel Fournier has written some articles on it that are really good. I think that ghosting is in that same category, and we have to move the community into a place where ghosting is treated the same way.
I mean, I agree with you for the most part, but I think there's a definite separation between a streamer and a player you're playing against. There's a couple reasons I think this. One is the streamer specifically can gain info from Twitch chat. I don't think it happens that often. I don't think it will happen on average. I think actually listening to Twitch chat makes you worse. But it can happen. And so if you were to tell me at a random event, I could have my hand open and have people chime in on what's going on, but my opponent doesn't get to see while this is happening, yeah, let's go. You know, like the reason why it's not cheating is not because it's hard to prove. You can prove it, and like there are ways to prove it, and you can make rules around things that are hard to prove still, like just to put a line in the sand and say this is why you shouldn't do it. But I think that it's actually on Gabe. Like, I think Gabe is insane for doing it. And if I were him, I would just never do it. You could record it and post it up somewhere. So you lose a little bit of equity. But I just think like it's so insane.
Alrighty. Yeah.
Should we talk about our
Not yet.
Not yet,
Okay,
no.
okay,
I'm just gonna start shouting it out, KYT.
okay, one more thing. Okay, if somehow there was dual modern, I just wanted to hear Steven's take. What 2 decks would he bring?
Be blue white and blue white, but that's me. I don't know. I've played Phoenix a bunch. I think the deck is fine. It's probably quite good. I don't know. I think that the duo modern format, again, because you need sideboard cards to make blue white any good at all. So definitely not blue white. What deck has the best game 1? So you would definitely play Dredge and Dredge, right?
Both of my duo modern decks, no matter what they are, would have 4 Leyline of the Void.
Yeah,
I don't care.
It's awful.
Hey, did you hear about this new format?
Terrible format.
You can play 8 ofs now.
Fine. It's like, yeah, Dredge and Dredge. Everybody plays ley lines, then nobody plays Dredge. Okay, now where do we go? Where's this terrible wheel of awfulness going?
Here,
Now you don't have to play Leyline, so now
I
you
have
can
a
play
fix for
Dredge.
this. No more theoretical formats because they sound like garbage. Actually,
On board.
no more modern either. How about that?
You make me sick, Car. Duo modern.
Hey, what if we play duo vintage?
Face-to-face games, dual modern.
Duo Champions of Kamigawa, Popper, Tiny Leaders.
There'd be a ton of bans for this
Frontier,
modern best
Frontier.
of one, because that's why they banned like the Nexus of Fate, right? Because it was really unfun for without a sideboard. So yeah, this modern format would go through a hell of a lot of bans. It'd be a crazy ban list of like every card that says Dredge on it. Phoenix would probably be banned. Yeah, it would just be this. It would basically be standard, but with like more bad standard cards from all of the past.
Can you believe they're creating another modern supplemental format? So we have to endure this hellscape of what modern is for another ever. Like,
Counterspell's going to be in there, so that's going to be kind of fun. Like, what other cards are going to be in there? They're going to make the format better. So
format better.
I don't know. Modern is. I don't know. I find that modern is definitely the most popular format, right?
Yeah,
I'm definitely not in
numbers.
the minority of saying that I like playing modern.
Yeah, I mean, like most people that go to F&M also enjoy playing modern.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm not like I think that you're in the minority when you're like modern is the worst thing ever, and the only reason why I'm playing it is because I have to play it for money.
I would say that like Commander might be worse.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like where you start going down like the levels of competitiveness.
Where's Frontier on it? Where's Frontier on the list?
I've never played Frontier. I don't actually have
Neither
This is just the same thing I circle back to over and over again when talking about modern. That it's like very fun to play. It's a horrible competitive format, and we're competitive players, so naturally we just don't like it.
I actually I played against John on Moto earlier, and he was on Dredge and I'm on Phoenix, and I surgical one of his things, and he says, "Come on, man, have a heart." And I responded with, "You don't know me very well, then, haha." Because like I hate fun and I don't have a heart, and this format's garbage.
So then we got to test against each other then. Ooh.
All right.
I got the main
right.
deck surgical. I'm pretty ruthless. I mulled a 5 against my Phoenix opponent game 1 and still beat him because I had the surgical for his Phoenixes. It's like some heartless things you can do in modern for sure, but they can be
So I
fun.
hate, like okay. Last comment on modern. I think this actually shows how bad modern is right now. That decks are main decking surgical, and it's good because in most cases that is just awful. It's abysmal that you would do something like that. Surgical is not the kind of card that you want in your deck to stop what your opponent's doing. It's sort of like is backwards thinking on deck building and the momentum of how a format should be. But whatever.
Yeah,
I don't want them to ban anything else.
Yeah, it's funny because like I didn't think the surgical in the main deck of blue white would be good, but it's like really good against Tron. It's really good against Amulet. It's really good against obviously the decks where it's really good against. It's definitely not good against like the creature-based matchups. Like I've definitely done like Cryptic Command Bouncer thing, surgical the one in the graveyard. There's like convoluted ways to get it to work, but I agree that Modern's probably not in a good spot if Surgical is a deck that is a card you want in your main deck to beat these other decks.
Yeah, Phoenix is like the only like deck that reasonably main decks it without being like egregious, because it wants a free spell, and Gutshot is not great. Surgical not great either, but sometimes you can punk someone out.
Yeah, I think Phoenix does use it the best, as well as it protects against your Phoenixes from the other Surgicals, where the Gutshot doesn't.
All right, we're gonna wrap up this show with these guys' picks. Elliot, I'll let you start with some Mythic Invitational picks.
Should we explain the bracket first? That way the people at home know what we're talking about. Because I don't know what we're talking about, and it'd be really great if we could go over what we're talking.
Yeah, Elliot can do it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So at the Mythic Invitational this upcoming weekend, there are 4 groups of 16 players each. I guess I'll just start with Group A, which has Jamie Topples, MTG Nerd Girl, Autumn Lily MTG, Owen Turtenwald, Wyatt Darby, Jerry Thompson, Age 8, Ties, Javier Dominguez, Ken Yukihiro, Luke, Alexander Hain, Yuya Watanabe, Jessica Estefan, Andre Strosky, and Matthew Nass. So it's a double elimination bracket where you lose twice, you're out. If you go 3-0, then you're through to the round of 16, and you basically just need three wins to get through. So out of that group, I selected to make it through Owen Turtenwald, Jerry Thompson, Alexander Hain, and Matt Nass. Sort of no surprise with what we were talking about earlier. It's 4 of the best MPL players that are in the group. I think the brackets sort of favor them as well, so that's who I picked. I'm cheering for Owen to win the whole thing. I couldn't not pick him.
So I want to type these out. Say that again.
I picked Owen Turtenwald, Jerry Thompson, Alexander Hain, and Matthew Nass.
Is that the winner? I thought we were doing
the four to get through Group A.
Oh, okay. We have okay.
Okay, Andy, who do you got?
So me and Elliot compared lists, and I think we're almost identical, but off by 1 in each. So I picked to advance from Group A Yuya, Hain, Owen, and Jerry T.
I have Owen, Yuya, Javier, and Strosky.
Okay, so still not off by too much. Kind of the consensus that the MPL players are going to win.
Yeah, I think Strosky is one of the better non-MPL players, maybe next to LSV. And like it's hard to go wrong with Yuya and Javier Dominguez, and of course Owen.
So on to Group B then. Group B has Amazonian, Legend VD, Skybills, Zachary Keeney, Shahar Shenhar, Aaliyah Deshane, Christian Hauk, Quicksort, Ben Stark, Andre Mangucci, Eric Froelich, Nessa Meow Meow, Caleb D, Andrew Cuneo, Luis Salvato, and Li Shiqian. From that group, I selected Shahar Shenhar, Ben Stark, Luis Salvato, and Christian Hauk. Andy, how about you?
I selected Luis Salvato, Shahar Shenhar, Zach Keeney, and Ben Stark.
I have Luis Salvato, Eric Froelich, Shahar Shenhar, and Christian Hauk. I don't know how. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, again, a lot of overlap. It seems like we're either really smart or we're all just blowing it.
Yeah, I hope we're all just blowing it. It'll be a lot more exciting if we're wrong, because I feel like we would choose like what other people would also choose, Yeah,
I mean, I kind of gave my rough odds earlier of an MPL member. I think is like 70% to win across the whole MPL. I think it'd be really cool to see one of the challengers win.
Yeah, it'd be
especially
like,
one of the streamers who was maybe a little lesser known at the beginning of it. I think it'd be really cool.
it'd be really like if like the Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl every year. Like that's more exciting than the Patriots winning the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, I'm looking for the Cleveland Browns to win it all this year.
Sorry, I don't know anything about pigskin throw.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, Group C. We got Gabe Nassif, Brian Bronduin, Shodi Yasuoka, William Jensen, Muffin Pastry Pie, Paulo Vitor Damarosa, John Rolfe, Show, LSV, Cedric Phillips, Merchant, Seth Manfield, Savitz, Pterodactyls for the win, Reed Duke, and Mike Sigrist. And I selected Huey Jensen, Paulo Vitor Damarosa, Luis Scott Vargas, and Reed Duke.
I want a prize. We have the same list.
Nice.
I think it's funny. Just the non-MPLs are just they don't use their name. They use their Twitch handle, which obviously like makes sense because that's what they're known by. But it's just, can you imagine? Be like, I think Muffin Pastry is going to take this down. Muffin Pastry has the edge over Reed the Bones Duke. But so my Group C is Huey, Paulo, Seth Manfield, and Reed Duke.
Pretty stacked top four there.
Our list is also very similar. Why don't you have LSV, Andy?
Because I think Seth. So basically, I decided that I broke all of it down into groups of 4 and decided that one per group of 4 is like most likely to advance based on the way double elimination works. So I just picked one per group of 4, and I picked Seth over Luis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually the. I was in Discord with Andy as he was doing his bracket, and I already done mine. And I like said, I had a strategy. I want to see what yours is. And he gets to the end. He said, I just broke it up into groups of 4, and that's exactly what I did. We ended up with one off of each other per group.
I just picked the players that I think were the best players in the group.
Interesting.
A bold strategy.
Yeah,
Picking the most talented players.
Group D is Marcio Carvalho, Brad Nelson, the Asian Avenger, Tiago Saporito, Gregor Skovalski, Anna May, Martin Yuza, Thundermo Hellkite, Carlos Ramau, Jean-Emmanuel Depras, Gabby Sparts, Lucas Esper Bertund, Adver, Numot the Nummy, Teruya Kakume, and Pyotr Glugovsky. And I picked Brad Nelson, Martin Yuza, Pyotr Glugovsky, and Lucas Esper Bertund. Bertund? Lucas Esper
Berteau?
Berteau?
I don't know.
Bertund?
So I picked Marcio Carvalho, Martin Yuza, Pyotr Glagowski, and Lucas Berteau.
Oh, we were so close. I have Marcio, Bolov 0. I can't remember his real name.
Tiago Saporito.
Yeah, Tiago Saporito. Yuza, and of course Canister.
We think Pyotr has the perhaps the best path to advancing.
I didn't even look at their literal bracket, but that could be true. I saw, I think, like some of them have it real easy, and then some of them have it real hard. So Pyotr is just in a bracket with like some. He's not even in the same bracket as like a named player for the first 2 rounds. So like if he.
Yeah, that's why it's so likely to advance. I can't wait for all these predictions, and then just Muffin Pastry just demolishes the group of death. Undefeated, can't be beat. The best of one dual standard player to ever live.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm super excited. I hope we're all wrong. I hope that none of us picked the right person and that no MPL makes top 8, except for Canister. I want Canister to win.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this. This is going to be perhaps the most important thing for Magic, or like professional Magic ever.
I would say so far. I think there might be bigger things. I hope there are bigger things in the future, but I think this will be a piece of Magic history that really shifts the paradigm on how we view Magic as like a viewing activity and how we talk about it in our day-to-day lives, and just everything else you could think of. It's just going to be so sweet.
I just like that if you come first, you're the 24th highest earner in Magic's history. And like the list is just stocked full of the game's best ever. All these Hall of Famers. And if you win this one awesome tournament, you're in. You're in that top like money category, which is like
I heard
sort of sad to hear, to be honest.
I heard if you win this, you're better than Kai. That's what I've heard. Like,
I mean, that's
conversation over, no more debates. You're better than Kai.
The 23rd place on the MTG money list could be at $250,010, where the $10 is the 3 packs they won at FNM once.
Modern FNM. Whee!
Steven, to recap, you're rooting for Nassif and a lot of the non-MPL streamers.
Yeah, rooting. I don't know if they're advantaged to win, but especially like the Group C is real rough, and like Group D is pretty soft. So the people that got into Group D, I think, are gonna have a nice go at it, whereas Group C looks super rough. Like it's hard to. I wouldn't bet on Gabe to make it out of the bracket. That's a rough one, but I'll be rooting. But I don't know if I'm gonna be. I wouldn't be a betting man there if I'm taking equal odds. And I think that a lot of my picks were the same, especially to Andrew. I think my picks are identical. Maybe they're one off, but I had the same strategy of going with one in each of the 4 brackets. Just gives you your highest way to go for double elimination.
Yeah.
What's the dog's name? Whose dog was that?
That's my dog, but we got somebody that just got to the door, so I'm gonna mute my mic. I'm gonna go crazy.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up anyways. Thank you so much for joining us, Steven. It was a pleasure to talk to you about Blue White, Modern, the guys ragging the format, and then we talked about Mythic Invitational with you. Anything you wanna? Final words? Any shout outs? Anything at all? What's your next tournament? Anything?
Thank you guys so much for having me on here. I think I'm gonna start doing some streaming next week. But it was great being on here, and I definitely will probably listen to some of your podcasts in the future.
What's your Twitch handle?
It's a Wang Flurry.
All right.
Sorry?
Wang Flurry. WANGFLURRY.
What's the meaning behind that?
Exactly. It was a name. It was a name that was given to me back on a character in World of Warcraft when I was like, I guess I was like 16 at the time, and I've just kept it the entire time. It's on like the back of like the jersey that I have for like the teams that I've played on and stuff like that.
Is that your Twitter handles, or do you have Twitter?
I do have Twitter. I think it's not that right now.
Is that it's not that, it's at not that right now?
No, I think it's Curator4.
Oh.
Okay, because I had tried to find you on Twitter. I got something entirely different.
Oh yeah, did you? I think I also have Wang Flurry.
Do not
on
at
Twitter
Wang
as well.
Flurry. Scary.
Yeah, it's like going to
Curator4
On the bright side, I just got 40 Twitter followers from
Wow,
Spam.
I'm so popular on Instagram now.
Oh God, off the rails. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Steven. Hope to get you back on, especially if you crush with Blue White again. And yeah, hope to talk to you again soon.
Bye, everybody.
That was Steven Kerr, runner-up to Toronto Open Plus, winner of the Barrie Open, and I think I've seen him do other tournaments too. I've seen his name more than on one occasion. I'm going to be finishing up Jonathan Zhang's Dredge Guide to put out to the nation. It's once again, it's beyond comprehensive, so anyone that's wanting to play that deck can go check it out at patreon.com/firststrike1. It's out in probably either tonight or tomorrow morning. Yeah, Magic Fest Calgary this weekend. And oh yeah, before we go, I'm gonna announce the fact that I'm gonna be posting this on all the social medias of face-to-face games soon, but the Mythic Championship qualifiers, they're going to be happening in Ontario on May 11th at the Monte Casino Hotel and at the Sheridan Centre in Montreal, June 15th. So May 11th, June 15th, mark those dates on your calendar. It's old school TQ's time, boys, and it's going to be fun.
Do you have any more info that you can give us right now? Like
$700 entry.
I've been reading on Twitter, and
capped at 6K.
There was there's somebody complaining that one of them were like $70, and they're like, "Is this normal?" And people were responding like, "No, this one's 35, this one's 40, this one's 50." So it seems like there's a difference in price ranges. I hope they're not $700 because I got to save that money for a flight, you know.
Honestly, $70, I don't care. That I would still go.
No, what? I mean, I would too, but I would definitely be on Twitter complaining.
For $75, you do that at all the GPs.
No, I don't. I've been queued for the last 6 months.
Oh my God, get queued for 2 Pro Tours. Get out of here.
I've queued for 3, and I cashed 1. How many of you cashed?
I have not cashed for Pro Tours.
Oh, how many of you played?
I'm 1 for 1, thank you.
Oh yeah, dead last.
you get cash for last now.
Yeah,
I came 50th.
Yeah, I came 50th from last. How much did you win?
$1,000.
Oh, so only a little bit more than I did.
What do you get for just showing up?
500.
Wow, that's sick.
Elliot, what did you want to ask me?
I assume that they're pretty. You can do whatever you want with the prize structure. That's why there's a difference in entry costs.
I'm not one of the guys that decides. I think you're right, and I think people only got the green light to announce stuff like yesterday, and that's why you're seeing different stores with different banners, and you're seeing all this Twitter stuff now. And I don't think everyone's decided, and those who haven't announced obviously haven't decided maybe their exact location or the price structure and stuff like that. So I think those details will be out for these ones. I mean,
are these like anyone can play? 0 Planeswalker points can play?
I don't know if this is public. It's probably public info, right? I don't know.
They announced you have to have like X amount of Planeswalker points to play in these before, didn't they? I swear somebody told me that earlier. I've
heard that before, but I'm not sure if that was a separate style of MCQ.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
I think we'll know. Yeah,
just breach your contract. Just breach your contract. Just tell me.
I did hear.
We'll just get the editor to edit it out. Just be like, yeah. So the PTQs are, and then they just, and of course they always just.
I did hear
and if
that
you want to win the event,
schedule,
you can bribe.
I heard the full schedule is supposed to be out by the middle of April. So that's only, at this point, only a couple weeks away. Or a few weeks away.
Are you guys excited for Easter?
I don't know when Easter is.
It's the Grand Prix weekend in Niagara Falls. It's Easter and Passover, so be prepared to be paired against heathens in the tournament only.
This has been a crazy episode. Yeah, I'm glad I don't actually have any of the confidence. I just don't know the confidential information. So hopefully, but more information is going to come out this week, next week.
Somebody in the chat is saying first round is no Planeswalker points. Second is 200. Anyone can play in the first round of them.
Wait, so we get buys?
No. That's like first round of MCQs. I believe is what this
series of them.
Yeah.
I'm so confused. You know what? I'm just gonna get somebody else to show this to me in a slideshow because I can't read and pictures work better.
Okay, Derek, just show up on May 11th at the Monte Casino Hotel in Toronto, and if they tell you that you're not allowed to register because you're already queued, then tough beats. Move on to the next one.
I mean, I'm gonna top 8 this PT or MC. So yeah.
All right. John Cronin in the chat says, you guys still put this up on YouTube? We do, although the link might not be the same anymore. So definitely go to magic.facegames.com, and you might have to resubscribe if it's not working for you, because we moved the host now to Anchor, and that's why. And anyone who starts a podcast advice to all fellow podcasters, should consider Anchor or SoundCloud. A bunch of these hosts, previously, some of them charge an excessive amount for hosting their files and stuff like that. But some have cheap plans now, like SoundCloud, unless you have a lot of listeners, and then you'd have to upgrade to maybe their $10 a month plan. But there are more affordable hosts out there, and Anchor is just super free, though they have some limitations as well. So we're just experimenting with different hosts and different stuff. But if it hasn't been working for you, definitely resubscribe. But we're still on iTunes as far as I know. Every new episode, it might just be a different link. And with that, I think this went well over time. So for Andy, Elliot, Derek, and myself, we'll be following the Mythic Invitation. Hopefully, actually, I hope some of you are right. I want my boy Alex to get there. So we'll talk to you next week, and we'll talk about Mythic Invitational results. See you guys next week. Bye.